What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash, and today is March 23rd of 2022. Well, folks, I hope you are having a fantastic day wherever you are, and in today's video, I want to spend some time to discuss one key market metric that could be the telltale sign as to whether or not Bitcoin is going to substantially rally higher in price. We've talked a lot about the various market signs here over the past couple of days, but this one is a little known market metric that most people aren't keeping their eye on. So if you like this video, consider dropping a like, consider subscribing, but let's go ahead and dive straight into it, guys. Now, as many of you might already know, the vast majority of people who are going out there and buying Bitcoin or buying cryptocurrencies are usually buying it on the spot market. They're buying real crypto assets, and that could be through an exchange like Coinbase. It could be through various other exchange providers out there in the market, and that goes the same for the vast majority of other altcoins and cryptocurrencies in the market. But there's other vehicles and ways that people garner exposure to crypto, and one of them is through ETN or ETF products, exchange traded notes or exchange traded funds. These are means or ways where you're able to buy a financial product that's accessible through a traditional stock brokerage account to be able to buy some portion of Bitcoin or gain exposure to crypto in some capacity. And one of the most popular forms of getting exposure to Bitcoin, at least in the United States, when it comes to these exchange traded note products, is GBTC, or the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. Now, many of you probably already know about the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, or GBTC. And as you can see here, it generally tracks the price of Bitcoin here. We can see back here in February and April when we were having our initial first top in the cycle, the revisit back to that range here. November, and of course our retest here of the consolidation range. A lot of similarities here in price. But one important thing that is important to note about this is how big this ETN is and how it gives us a gauge of institutional interest in the cryptocurrency market. A lot of institutions are regulated to, rather than being able to buy anything they want, like going out and buying spot market Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, many institutional traders and investors have to rely on these ETN products in order to actually garner that exposure. And to just talk about how significant in size this ETN is, it's over about $19.9 billion in assets under management, roughly speaking around $20 billion here at current market prices. Now, that makes GBTC one of the biggest ETN products out there in the market. And there's one important metric that people don't focus on enough when it comes to the Grayscale ETN that gives us a lot of sentiment gauge as to whether or not institutions are red hot about crypto markets. And that is the GBTC discount or premium to net assets or value. Now, I want to go ahead and break this down because all the while it might seem complex in its title, it's actually incredibly simple. So the idea here is that the GBTC product, each share that's issued that someone might own in their brokerage account, has a respectable amount of Bitcoin backed behind it. That basically, in a sense, is giving you ownership, in this case, over those Bitcoin, right? So it's a very convenient product. But the major thing is that over time, there can be inefficiencies in the market. There can be times where people are paying a premium to garner that exposure to Bitcoin, even though there's a limitation in supply, and therefore we see a premium, right? People are paying a higher price than the actual net assets under value according to the actual spot market. And vice versa. We've been recently seeing over the past couple of months, really over the last year or so, that Bitcoin under the GBTC product is trading at a net discount against its actual fair value on the market. All right, so I'll go ahead and just kind of explain this here. So as you can see here in February, we really had the crossover in February 2021, and more than over a year ago, we've been continuing to hold at a discount range, meaning that the GBTC shares are trading at a 26.7% discount from the actual Bitcoin that are backing those shares. And a lot of people would think, oh my gosh, I mean, wouldn't you just go ahead and buy GBTC? Well, you technically can, and you're technically getting a 26% discount according to the actual backed BTC. Now, there are some important things to consider. There's about, I think it's a 1 to 2% annual management fee that gets taken out in this case. So that's, of course, a cost you have to consider, but that's really the only other variable here. you can technically get these Bitcoin at a discount. And some people have decided to do that. I'm not here to really recommend that you go do that, but I want to go ahead and talk about what this is telling us. This is telling us that right now the amount of shares or Bitcoin that the GBTC product has basically created and purchased off the market is too large for the actual demand for investors. And we can see that there is a huge discrepancy. Whereas over the past couple of years in the crypto market, since GBTC was live, there was always a premium here. There wasn't enough supply in the market. In late 2020 and early 2021, Grayscale went on a buying binge. And as you can see here, from around June of 2020 all the way up here towards February 2021, over the course of just a couple of months, Grayscale went from owning around 365,000 Bitcoin all the way up here towards 655,000. An over 300K increase in the amount of Bitcoin that they were holding under reserves for this ETN product. Now, the thing to think about here, and we can see this very clearly in the chart, is ever since then, Grayscale has not been adding more, and in fact has been on a very slow but steady unwinding of those products, basically effectively removing shares from the market and therefore selling the underlying Bitcoin of the product. But if we take a look here in the shorter term, we go here to say the past year, all the while this premium has become more and more apparent here in the market. Since back here in late January, really over the past few months, we've been seeing here a general flat line, not a continued decline here in the Grayscale product. And in fact, it looks like we might be getting some lively signs here on the premium, or the discount for that matter, starting to charter back up and get up back towards the neutral territory it was once at. Showcasing the sign here, and just to kind of explain it in simple terms, that if this discount grows shorter and shorter, meaning that we get closer back to the neutral fair value of the assets being backed by the shares, right? Then in this case, we can expect market prices to move higher, right? This is a telltale sign that demand is starting to come in. Right? There's an existing supply on the market. If that discount starts to shrink, that means more people are willing to buy GBTC. More people are wanting exposure to Bitcoin. And if we get to a point where it's so much demand, we would eventually break past the basically the actual net assets under value towards getting to a point where people are paying a premium once more. Now, I think that is a ways away. And I think that Grayscale, all the while it won't go as crazy as it did in 2020 and 2021, I think that it would slowly start to add in more positions when there'd be a premium to try to maintain that equilibrium. But major thing here to consider is that right now we have been trending sideways here. And the major thing we need to watch for is to whether or not this can get back up towards a better discount territory like minus 15% or minus single digit percentages, or possibly get up above that neutral territory. Right? And again, that's going to come through two things. One, through more demand, and also again, Grayscale continuing its offloading of Bitcoin back into the spot market, right? These are the actual Bitcoin holdings. And the important thing to note is that they've dropped from around 655,000 Bitcoin all the way towards 641,000. So they've offloaded about 14,000 Bitcoin, roughly speaking. That's just going to continue over time until I think they get back up to that net asset under value where there's not a premium or discount on the ETN product. Now, it is important to note that if you are thinking of taking advantage of the Grayscale GBTC discount, it's important to understand the fine print and all the terms that come with owning the GBTC product. But if you guys are asking for my opinion personally, although I can't give financial advice, I'm a big believer in actually owning spot Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, actually owning the actual currency itself and having the freedom to be able to do what you want with it. And that's why I'm a big fan of today's sponsor, which is iTrust Capital. Now, if you guys don't know about iTrust Capital, it's a company that allows you to open up a cryptocurrency IRA or individual retirement account and garner exposure to the cryptocurrency space without having to deal with all the stress of taxes when it comes to investing or trading crypto. By opening up a crypto IRA, you're able to contribute over $6,000 to $7,000 each year of your income into the IRA account, investing in crypto assets, where you don't have to worry about taxes at the end of the year, whether it's capital gains or income tax. And on top of that, you garner a wide range of exposure to various cryptocurrencies and have the ability to trade in and out of the market, as well as simply just passively invest long term. So if you guys are interested, check out the platform link down below in the description. They have great reviews, over 100,000 accounts created, actively using the platform, and a great range of exposure to various features that help make your crypto IRA even more powerful. Now, one last thing that I wanted to talk about here, guys, that builds into this discussion point we've had is focusing on the narrative of the exchange-traded funds or ETNs as well, like GBTC, and the corporate treasurers, the companies out there that are holding Bitcoin on their balance sheets. Now, this was a huge talking point back in 2020 and 2021, and of course, all the while the trend has been relatively silent. Therefore, a lot of people have not talked about it as of recent. They've started to kind of slow down on this narrative being something that we should focus on. But I actually think it's something we should revisit. It's something we should be keeping an eye on. And if we take a look at the metrics here over time, even though Grayscale has been reducing its ETF shares over time, we can see that the ETF volume overall globally has remained relatively neutral since back here in the start of 2021. And on top of that as well, corporate treasurers, all the while it's not growing as fast as it was in 2021 when the market was just generally more heated and overexcited. We're still seeing an increase here, mainly led by companies like Grayscale. And overall, that trend is still maintaining a positive upward tick. It's not reducing anytime soon. And that's the important thing to focus on. When we start to see a ramp up in these metrics and we see more public companies going out and actually buying some exposure to crypto, or we start to see more of these ETF products come onto the market, it is going to continue setting a set of demand for the crypto market that's going to help contract supply and therefore drive up price. All right. So I would say again that this is another telltale sign that things aren't getting bad here. Even though the market price has been shaky, all this buy side demand that really drove up price is not leaving the market. It's hanging around, or at least there's other buyers coming in to fill any potential sell side pressure from their peers within the respected field, whether it's an ETF or a corporation. All the while, we haven't seen the big move just yet. I think we're very likely going to see something soon. And following that NAV discount or premium on the GBTC product is a great way to be able to gauge that change over time. So that being said, everyone, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you'd like to, consider dropping a like, consider subscribing and hitting the bell icon so you don't miss another video here on the channel. That being said, though, everyone, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care, everyone.